Howdy.
Hello, we are back on the Good Work Show.
Did
It's
you?
been a minute.
It has been a minute. Hopefully, everybody missed us, but not too much. As you can see, it's fall. I've got my whimsical gourd
Oh, I
behind.
thought that was a pear.
It's a squash.
I mean, if you say it, but it looked like a pear from
Well,
here.
it's part of a trio. So when you see it next to
Uh,
the pumpkins, it makes
okay,
sense
well then
as
it
a
would have made sense.
gourd versus. Well, it's
Got it.
funny. I asked a friend of mine because I have all my stuff in storage downstairs in the basement, and I asked a friend of mine to help me bring the stuff up, and he was like, where, what are you talking about? Where are the pumpkins? I'm like, it's in a thing. It says Thanksgiving on. It's like pumpkins. And he's like, going through all the stuff, going through all the stuff. He's like, I don't see any fall stuff. And I'm like, I don't understand this. I know it's in a Tupperware, it's on the shelf, it's labeled.
Was he looking for orange stuff?
Yes. He's like, why don't you
Okay.
have orange pumpkins? And I'm like, because there's no orange. Why would I have orange? He was like, I'm looking
Because that's what
for orange.
pumpkins are orange. Pumpkins are orange. I mean, I kind of agree with his thinking. I'm just
I mean,
saying
I
it's
understand.
not out of the realm.
He's like, I'm not looking for gold and glitter glam pumpkins. I'm like, well, okay, I understand why it could be a problem to say that, yes, you were looking for orange pumpkins. Speaking of, I wonder if my pumpkin will come back behind my house again this year.
Oh yeah. I don't know. Hey, you never know.
I know
So
the
you
leaves, enough leaves haven't fallen yet that I can see back there. So we'll see.
yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yes. Well, and for those of you who are just joining, you are listening to the Good Work Show. It is a show that is sponsored by Goodwill of North Georgia, which we both work. So I'm Elaine Armstrong and part of the marketing team there. And
I'm Trinace
big
Lyons,
lines.
also part of the marketing team at Goodwill.
Yes. So we come on and we've been doing this show for a few years. We have been interviewing a ton of people who are influential in the nonprofit world, of course, in the Metro Atlanta area. We've interviewed some folks who are part of our organization at Goodwill of North Georgia. And we took a little bit of a hiatus and we are back, but we are back with a little bit of a new concept because we wanted to dig a little bit deeper into workforce development and some of the things that we are talking about amongst our peers and partners and organization at Goodwill. So that's what this season is going to be focused on. And today we're going to dive into a little bit of like background about Goodwill and take you back a little bit to give you a little bit of history about what Goodwill is, and then talk about sort of what we do with the mission because, you know, most people know about Goodwill stores and donation centers. And if that's all you know, that is fantastic because we want you to continue to do that. But even greater than that, if you know what we're going to talk about today, then you may be able to plug in and help and support in some kind of way. So we always want you to know about donations and shopping. But beyond that, what else does Goodwill do? So we're going to tell you that today.
So are we excited?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yes, it's another day. It's another day on the Good Work Show. Of course, we're excited.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah,
do you want to kick off our history lesson?
sure. So Goodwill, if you didn't know, has been around for, well, in the Metro Atlanta area, we've been around since 1925. So we're almost 100 years old. It's actually coming up. I was thinking about that the other day because I was talking to another organization who was getting ready to celebrate their 90th anniversary next year. And I was like, I've been there, done that. I can help you. I can give you plans and documents. But we are getting ready to celebrate 100 years. So 100 years ago, there was a group of concerned citizens who were in the Metro Atlanta area who saw what was going on around them. And you think of what was going on in 1925, you can kind of make some inferences, right? So obviously there were economic challenges, there were challenges with poverty, there were so many things that were going on. And then you advance a few years and then you get, civil rights movement and all of the other things that are part of this Metro Atlanta history. But back then, there was an organization that started in Boston, so Goodwill Industries International, that was started by a Methodist minister, and his name was Edgar J. Helms, who saw that people in the community, particularly immigrants, because actually started as a way to support immigrants who were here new to the country, and they didn't have much, and so what they would do is through his church and as a part of his mission would go out and collect things from people who had things that they no longer needed or that were in disrepair, and they would bring them back to Goodwill. They would fix them all up, and then either the folks who were there who needed them would take them home and use them, or they would start to try to sell them a little bit later, so they would repair and sell the items. So that was the early days of what Goodwill actually was back in the day. Fast forward to that, and you have, so the industrial revolution where things started being mass manufactured. And then who's fixing a refrigerator, right? You get today, you just gotta buy another one. You're not fixing your iron. Like you just, put that sunbeam in the garbage. You just gotta get another one. Unless it's still good. And if it's still good and you're upgrading, then that's the magic about Goodwill. Or hey, you've got a dress and you're like, I don't like that color anymore. It doesn't look good. That my pumpkin is orange and I need a sparkly one. You know what? Then you bring those things to Goodwill, and we offer them to sell for those folks who love to shop for bargains, for great value, for things that are unique and different. And so fast forward today where we have 69 stores that are located across our 45 county territory. And then that's what we do. And instead of having our team members or people come in and repair those items, what we do is we use the funds that we collect from selling all of those donated goods to fund job training programs and services for folks who need a job, who are looking for a better job, or who are looking to advance their career. So we call that the ABCs of work. We do that at 13 career centers across our territory and with partner organizations that are across our organization. We got about 5,000 partners we work with. That includes employers and education partners. But anybody who wants to work can come to Goodwill. We will help them find a job. And it all happens through the magic of you donating those jeans, those books, that furniture, those, pumpkins, that holiday decor, all of the things that you no longer need or want into your house. Somebody else buys them, and we make all that magic happen. That's Goodwill in 5 minutes.
I think one thing though that you said, but I want to make sure that people truly understand, is that the mission of Goodwill from the very, very beginning was about providing people a hand up, not a hand out. Right. And the idea being that it was even like Elaine said, from the very beginning in Boston with Reverend Helms, it wasn't about the idea of just going and collecting a dress from, a wealthy family and giving a dress to somebody else. It was about getting that dress, teaching people how to repair the dress. So then you had a skill. That's and right. Then you could get work. It was always about connecting people with skills and work so that people could experience the dignity of work and earning for themselves and being able to provide for themselves and their families through work. So there's over 100. And I think that one thing that's interesting about Goodwill is that, it's kind of like this ubiquitous name. Like you just hear Goodwill and you think it's all the same thing. And it is, but it's not. In most cities, in different states and across the country, around the world, there are Goodwills. And each one is an independently run. When I describe it for my family, I say it's like a franchise. It's like a McDonald's franchise. Like, you go in and ultimately it's kind of like the same, but there may be tweaks. Kind of like McDowell's from Coming to America. But at our core, every organization is about.
When you said that, I promise you, I was like, why do I have my hair like Lisa?
You do kind of look
like, why do I look like I'm waiting on my prince?
Yes.
Come and give me the earrings. I'm not giving them away on the subway. Like the whole thing, I was like, why do I look like Lisa McDowell?
You are
I'm
giving Lisa
channeling.
McDowell today. Um, but every organization at its core is focused on connecting people to work. And people do that in a number of different ways. The way that we do it here at Goodwill of North Georgia is that we have our career centers, we have our training programs, we find people jobs that way, we hire people at Goodwill, we help connect people to work that way. Other Goodwills have in-house things that they do. They have
Housing, some
yeah,
support with healthcare,
contracts.
education, schools. Some of them have
Yeah.
schools.
So there's a lot of different ways that this gets manifested across the country, but at its core, and I think this is something we can talk about. Like folks always ask us, like, "Hey, y'all get free donations. Why don't you give them away?" And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's one of those misconceptions about what we do. We're not an organization. There are organizations that do that, that collect items and give them away to people in need,
Mm-hmm.
and that's great. That's not our mission. Our mission is that we receive things that we can then sell at huge discounts, don't get us wrong,
Mm-hmm.
that we can then turn that into dollars to do our true mission, which is to help connect people to meaningful work.
That's right.
So I think that's important to talk about, and the fact and as times change, our focuses have changed and evolved. We're focused a lot on income inequalities, closing the wealth gaps, trying to make sure that when we're connecting people with work, we're connecting them to living wage jobs. We're not just trying to, connect people to anything. We want you to be able to go to work, earn a good living, provide for yourself and your family, feel good about the work that you're doing, all of those things. So, really, I mean, just a little bit of a deep dive into what we do and why we do it, that I hope that people will hear and kind of understand a little bit more. So, if we have to raise our price a nickel, it's a nickel well spent.
That's right. That's right.
Not
Well, the
saying
other
that.
thing about that too is that not to get into the minutia of what what you just said, people saying, hey, why don't you give things away? Because we do, like you said, we partner with organizations who do that. We need charitable organizations in our community. We need folks who need that immediate and rapid attachment to clothing, food, shelter. Absolutely. Like there's a place for that in our community. But that isn't really our true mission. Our mission is to actually put people to work, and the donated goods retail program is a means to fund that. So if we were truly just a relief organization, we probably would be giving away everything. That it isn't in our core. So we're actually using the collection of donated goods in a different way than what those other organizations are doing. So yes, we might both collect it, but at the end of the day, what we're going to do with it is we're actually trying to turn it into money, into funding versus actually giving it away. Plus, I will say that for I guess I don't know. I'm not going to say for how long, but I will say for at least for the last 5 years, probably beyond, Goodwill of North Georgia has been the largest nonprofit employer in the Metro Atlanta. When you look at the Atlanta Business Chronicles book of list, we've got nearly 3,000 team members, and what we're able to do because of our operations and because we're such a big operation in terms of donated goods retail, we're actually providing jobs and creating jobs through opening new stores and donation centers and career centers. So every time Goodwill expands, we're actually able to create more jobs in the community for where there didn't exist jobs before.
Yeah.
So we're a big job creator as well. And we're proud of the fact that we have a large team. Our team is fantastic. They're spread out all across everywhere, but they also are working to earn a wage. And so when we talk about getting things for free, we actually have to keep the lights on. We got to pay our team members. We have stores that we have to run. So there is an investment into running that type of a business, but we're very careful all the time to try to get as much and extract as much value out of the things that people give to us, because our first priority to our donors is to be a good steward of what they've given us. And we think the best way to be a good steward of the donations that you give us is to help someone else who can then turn that into employment to support themselves and their families. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, so over the course of this, over the next, few episodes, not few episodes, several episodes, we're going to dig deeper into all of this and help you understand a little bit more about what we do, how we do it, why we do it, meet some of the people that we work with, meet some of the people who have benefited from the organization, talk about how people our shoppers, we're nothing without our shoppers. So talk to some of our shoppers, get some clues on some better ways to thrift and reuse stuff. All of those things that kind of help fuel our mission that we, work towards every day to put people to work.
That's right. So come on back. This is episode 1 of season. I don't know what number we're on, but it will be in the show notes.
Wonderful. Thanks, y'all.
Yes. Bye, everybody.